Good evening, YouTube world. I'm your host, Paul Italia. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. So, what is going on, guys? We got a real good interview set up for today. But before we get into that, I want to just go over a quick updates of what we got coming up on the channel. So, tomorrow, the Junk Family episode 3 returns. This is our community show where everybody is invited. We put the link in the chat. So, anybody that wants to come on, the first 10 people, because that's all they allow me on StreamYard, and we just talk whatever we want, junk topics if we want, or anything else that's going on. It's more of a laid back show, not so serious, just a place for the community, all to network and connect. So definitely, guys, tune in. That's going down tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Also, big announcement just released. We got the Junk Expo going down in Santa Rosa, California this year, and it's a two-day event this time, October 24th and October 25th. Make sure to get over to Sonoma Strong. Matt Vick and JoJo Vick are the big organizers. They threw one last year, sold out so quick. It was only 250 tickets, but they were sold out like within the first month. So do not sleep on this one. We went to a bigger venue, so there'll be more people able to come in this one. But I'm telling you, with all what I'm hearing from everybody in the country, everybody's coming to this one. So make sure to get those tickets. Don't sleep on it. You don't want it to go and get sold out before you get your tickets. So, with that being said, guys, I'd like to introduce today's guest. They're two young entrepreneurs. When I first seen them, I was like, "Oh, guys from the East Coast. I'm from Jersey, from New York. These guys are from Jersey. My girl's from Jersey, so real familiar with them. I see they got that young blood in them, and they are hungry entrepreneurs. They're doing big things over in New Jersey. They got their company, the Junk Police. So I'm really excited about this interview today. I really want to learn from these guys and hear what they got going on. So with that being said, let me bring these guys on stage right now. And we got my man, Rich Brown and Nick Palese, and they are the owners of Junk Police out of New Jersey. Welcome, fellas. How are you tonight?
Very
Good.
good. What's
How you
going
doing?
on?
What you doing?
Well, I'm real happy to see, man, some young entrepreneurs on the East Coast, man, and you guys got the hustle bug. I've been watching since I got into this industry, and yeah, you guys definitely came up on my radar right away. I got to say, I love Nick's Facebook. Puts out some good content over there, a lot of very informative info, and that's when I first see Nick. And I got to say, Nick, congratulations, man. I just seen your big engagement. You did it right. You did it big. You took it away to an exotic island and all, and
Thank you.
great, bro. So congratulations on that, Nick.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So let's jump into business, man. I want to learn about you guys, bro. First, how did you find junk removal and like what made you guys get in so young?
Well, I'll give you the start to that and I'll let Rich finish up the story there. But pretty much just my dad did construction, his father's in construction and all that. So we pretty much already grew up in that kind of background of kind of, doing stuff on your own. So starting out really younger, like 16, 17, worked for my dad a little bit here and there during high school. And then, kind of wanted to branch out a bit. My first car really happened to be a pickup truck. So with that, back when Craigslist was really a thing, just threw some ads up like, I'll move your stuff from if you buy it on Marketplace or if you need materials delivered, all just odd end type of job. And Rich was always there. We've been friends since we were like 5 years old. So we would always just run around and do that. And that's kind of how it got kicked off. And then from there, just kind of snowballed. But Rich had a little bit of junk removal experience before that as well. I'll let him kind of take it from here.
Yeah, so I right before I started driving or right when I got my car, I started working for a junk removal company. That's about 20, 30 minutes from us. And at first I just sold the items that they brought back from jobs and stuff like that. So I just got like a percentage of it and then I got paid hourly for some things. And then I hopped on the truck for a couple jobs when they needed extra hands and stuff. And so I would go and do that. And then me and Nick were doing more and more stuff, more and more stuff. Started a lot with like moving stuff. And then we were going to do like some kind of delivery service or something. And then we were like, let's look into junk removal. So we got right into junk removal and then just started running from there, really.
Want to say shout out to Cisco Garcia in the chat. He says, good evening, guys. Cisco's the man. He's been instructing me on things to do and teaching me some great pointers. So what's up, Cisco? And guys, if you got any questions for these guys in the chat, just put it up there and I'll make sure to run it by these guys for sure. So that's pretty interesting, bro. And when did this start? So when was it official? Like, when did you make this into a company? And how old were you guys when you did that? Because I mean, you guys look like babies now. I'm not, no disrespect or anything, but like, how old were you when you started?
So we started the summer of high school. So when we were 18, that's when we really were getting into it. We did like a leave for work program. So we get out at like 12 o'clock. But it was like towards the end of that year, we started to really do a lot more of those like side jobs and stuff. And then it was official in October 2017.
Yep.
Is when we actually filed everything. We pretty much went to like college for 2 weeks and then did all that and kind of like stopped going to class and told our parents like, look, we're not going anymore, but we did actually make our business legitimate. And then that was quickly followed up with, which I don't know if you've seen a video on this or not, but I try to help the New Jersey guys out in the group because a lot of them don't know. But about like 8-9 months in, we got a fine from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection for $28,000 for not having our license that we didn't even know existed. And they don't really, it's kind of hard to know about until like groups like this didn't exist then. Now it's like pretty much going around where people know. But yeah, we had to go through that. Ended up, going up to Trenton. A bunch of guys with suits sitting around a table. We're just sitting there like 18, didn't know what was going on, and they let us off with half. So $14,000 we had to pay on a payment plan for the first 2 years. And we
wow, that is a learning experience at the beginning at 18 years old. Damn, bro.
Yeah.
2 days before Christmas too.
2 days before Christmas, got a packet like this. We're like, maybe we could shut the business down and just like, go through and start another one. It's like, nope, it pierces right through your corporate veil, right to your personal name and everything. So we went through that. And honestly, the worst part about that was, the money hurt as well, but it was the fact that we didn't get our license for almost 2 years because that's how long it takes right now. If you were to go to apply to do junk removal in New Jersey, it takes you 18 months to 24 months to get your license to be able to do it. So in the meantime, we just did interior demolition, which is why we're so, that makes up still today probably 40% or so of our business. So we're really big into that. And the other thing we've realized now, like 7 years later, is that license does give us a huge barrier to entry for the state. So like a lot of these things I see on Facebook, everyone's always kind of complaining like, this guy would say I'll do it for $50. How do I compete with that? That doesn't really exist in New Jersey. You pretty much have to be licensed. You catch people here and there, but like overall, it's not even close to what I see all around the country. So
yeah,
I gotta say, man, at first when you said that, I was like, oh man, that's scary and all, but just like you said, man, we need stuff like that. That'll prevent what's going on because we got all these guys out in California that are running around on license, no insurance, no nothing. And those are the guys that are just underbidding everybody and illegal dumping on the side. They don't give a shit. They're just doing that. So when you said that at first, I'm like, oh man, that is like horrible. But at the same way, just like you said, man, it's stopping a lot of people from just jumping in and all. But I want to make a point to that. Anybody listening, this is a real serious thing, man. If you don't have a license, because I know a lot of people, they just jump in right away and they'll figure it out down the line. You guys just heard, you get caught, what you're facing. You know what I mean? And it could even get worse than that, and they gave them leniency. I'm looking at as, they're looking at them as 18 years old and, they're just going to give them a smack on the hand, but, they might not do that for everybody. So that's why it's so important to be licensed and insured from the beginning. And God forbid, if you get in an accident or anything and you don't have the proper insurance, they'll take everything. And you're out of business instantly. So
100%. Yeah, that was like our next step that we were told was if we catch you again before you get your license, it was $56,000 and up to 12 months in jail. So
wow. Yeah,
we didn't do junk removal for at least like 18 months until we got it. So
that's crazy, man. So want to shout out Jeffrey Landon in the house. He says, what's up, everybody? How are you doing today, brother? So I want to just get into some other topics, man. I want to find out. So you started off with a pickup truck, and that was kind of like the way you went, and that was enough for both of you, like, or did each one of you had your own pickup truck? Like, how did that all work at the beginning?
I had one briefly, but then I got rid of it, got something else. So we were just doing me and Nick in a pickup truck, just waiting, mostly advertising on Craigslist when we first started back then. It was pretty decent, and then quickly we realized you can't charge too much with just the pickup truck bed. So we got like a small trailer. It was like $300, $350, and then we started doing stuff with that, and then that ended up breaking or something. The axle snapped when we were driving. So then we got like a enclosed trailer, and then we got another enclosed trailer. Then we bought another truck. Then we bought a dump trailer, and we slowly like progressed throughout like until we got like our first actual truck. And we bought a box truck, weren't really able to use that, so then we sold that, and we got a hook lift truck, like a used hook lift truck for I think it was like 13,000 or 14,000.
Let me ask you, what happened with the box truck?
So it was we actually bought it in New York, and it was just really
Graffiti
big.
on the side.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a good look and all that, like to go rolling up to them and in that.
Yeah,
No,
I mean, it wasn't ideal.
yeah, it wasn't ideal. It was basically like we bought it. The door was kind of messed up. It was just one thing where, because we used to always be in before everything and like flipping our cars and stuff like that, buying cheaper cars, flipping it. So it was one of those things where like bought this box truck for like, I don't know, $3,000 in New York. We got it. We realized it wasn't really the right thing. So we just threw it online anyway, just to see. And like within a week, someone was willing to take it for like a couple $100 more than what we bought it for. So we're like, all right, we just knew pretty quickly. I think the first job we really did with it, we loaded a bunch of tile
Wow, yeah.
into it.
God,
And we just had this truck full of tile. We're like, this sucks. So as soon as we did that, like one time, we're like, all right, we need to go back to dumping, because we were used to the dump trailer and stuff for a little bit too. So
hell yeah. We got Sonoma Strong in the house. He says, I love seeing all these young go-getters getting money. Hell yeah, Matt. Thank you for tuning in, brother. Appreciate that. So guys, that first year, would you consider that, was that like full-time? Was that more like just kind of like a part-time gig trying to like figure things out? Like, were you taking this like real serious right away or not so much?
Yeah, I would say in high school was kind of like more of like a part-time thing. As soon as we dropped out of college, it was like full-time, but like we didn't have a full-time schedule like when we were first starting out. So we were kind of like sitting in a room just waiting for like that phone to ring almost. We were posting extra on Craigslist, and then we would go door knocking and stuff. So like it wasn't like full-time work, but like we were giving it everything we had. Like we were doing everything we could to keep going and get to that point where we were busy, and then get to the point to hire our first guy.
yeah.
All right. So now looking back, you know what you know now. You guys been in the game for, many years and all. What would you do different now that first year? Obviously to find more business and just to get like more full-time schedule going.
Yeah. I mean, first thing would have been do my research and get the license ahead of time.
Okay.
To avoid that, because honestly, like that's what I say. Like the $14,000 that did hurt, but the real, like even looking back now, the amount of customers, like we already had some repeat customers. They would hit us back up, be like, "Oh, can you grab this junk?" And we'd have to literally send them a text like, "I'm sorry, we can't do it for another year or whatever." So it's like they're going to other people. So like that whole situation just cost us so much, even long-term money. Because I mean, I think about now, like it's all really about just paying the money and, getting the advertising out all to get the repeat clients in the end of the day. So we had the first 2 years of that really just kind of taken away. So we always like joke around that like our actual official starting date was like we're 7 years in, but it's really closer to 5 because we couldn't do junk removal. But I would say looking back, one thing that we did do right off the bat is we just wanted to think that we were just going to franchise all across the world as soon as possible. Like first phone number was an 833 number off the bat because we were just like, we want to have a local number and all this and that. So I think that would be one thing where maybe I would have settled back a little bit. It's kind of like you give and take though, because the way that we did do it, we sacrificed a lot of early kind of money and instantly went into like that whole scale mode and wanted employees right off the bat. But now I guess it's a little bit better because we did get through that hump of everything. But I think good overall advice for anyone out there watching who's just kind of starting out would be to just grow slow and nice and organically and just look at everything 5 to 10 years out.
Okay, so meaning organically, like you wouldn't go and start spending on ads yet, or like any kind of marketing campaigns, kind of just keep it low budget right away, or would you go with the ads and all that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that you can't do ads if you gotta. It's hard early too because you're not paying attention to this stuff. But like, it depends on the ROI on the ads. If a lot of people will go spend ads on all different places to start off, which obviously you got to do things just to start yourself off. But I think it's more like trying to pace yourself because I just remember constantly Rich and I always saying like we don't really care about profit right now. We just care about growing and like that's all that mattered. But we did that for a very long time. Like they're talking like 5 years, I think, that we were only living off of scrap money and stuff that we sold because any extra dollar, anything that was in the business would go to the next truck or hiring the next employee and getting ourselves as far away from being in the truck basically as we could, which definitely comes with its benefits because at some point you do have to make the decision to do that if that's your goal is to get out of the truck and like build a team and all that type of stuff. But I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I don't know if we got too
it really
aggressive with it.
depends what your goal is and how much money you have to start off with. If like you're going right off the bat, if you just want a full-time job and you just want to make a good solid income, but you're working every day, which is great. I think there's a way to go about that, which is more organically, lower cost on advertising and kind of like building like a much stronger social media presence for your local community and all that stuff, which you got to do in both aspects, but you can get a good income off of just doing that with little ads. If you're trying to scale and grow like very quickly, hire a bunch of employees, get out of the truck, work on more of the marketing end, then I think you need to spend a little quicker. But like it also helps when you have the money to be able to do that. So
Yeah. I mean, to sum everything up, I think that we're trying to say is like the one thing that Rich and I personally will tell ourselves that like we wish we would have did is we always say if we would have just stayed like on the truck for an extra year or two, we probably would have stashed away a ton of extra money that we would have just had before
That's
we.
what I was just going to ask you, is how long was it until you got off the truck? Because
Um,
I know you had that first 2 year hiccup, so we can't count that. So let's scratch that. How long after that first 2 year hiccup, when you had the whole like fine and all that, after that was all taken care of, how long were you on the truck for?
I'd say within a year after that, we were doing, because it's nice to have two people. We were doing like one day I would be in the office, Nick would be in the field. The next day I would be in the field, Nick would be in the office. So we kind of worked back and forth with that to try to use that to our advantage a little bit, get us off so we could work on some more back end stuff as well as still getting the jobs done because we didn't have employees trained to just hop in the truck and go do it safely slash efficiently. So we kind of went like that. And then when did we officially get off?
fully off, I would say would have been probably about 3 to 4 years ago. Probably three to be like fully. And I mean, when I say fully too, like year 3 and 2, we're off the truck, but there's always stuff that happens. I mean, there's plenty of people that go on and act like they're not, but I promise you, stuff breaks down and things need to get done. You hop back in there and get it
Yeah,
done.
if somebody calls in for the day, you're filling in. That's pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah, that used to be a big thing. And even like to now, like we're always pretty much out of the truck, but there's some things that we do. Like we get minimum, like a big thing for us is like single item pickups. So we know that we're pretty much breaking even if we send the crew out to do them. So any single item pickup, like a match or something that's within 15 minutes of us, usually me and him will go run out and just grab it real quick. Just because it's all you're doing a single item pickup for is to get that interaction, get the review, get the repeat client and all that type of stuff. So it's like not a big sweat if we're already out, doing estimates and whatnot. We'll sometimes go and grab it. But yeah, I would say overall we call it 95% out probably the last like 3 years.
Now, when you went with the employees and everything, when did you know was the right time? Like, was it like the income was just, it was flowing, you were getting steady jobs every day and you were, ready to take that plunge? Because it's got to be a little nerve wracking when, like when your business is hot and cold, to hire those employees, because that's when you could start digging yourself a hole real quickly. So when did you guys know was the right time? And now that you look back, did you do it at the right time, or would you like maybe waited a little longer, or would you even maybe went a little faster and got employees?
Yeah, I think when we first got like our first employee was obviously me and Nick running around doing everything. And then it kind of got to a point where we were at capacity for me and Nick, and even maybe a little above capacity that me and Nick could handle with the equipment that we had. So that's when we were like, let's hire a guy. And then now we were running 3 people. And then it was like, okay, well, a lot of days we have enough work for 2 people to do. So then that's when we kind of did the office switch out thing. And then kind of like, I think it was grow to capacity and then bring on more resources, whether that be employees or trucks. And then we could continue going from there. I think we did pretty good with that when we brought, and like our first guy, didn't need like 40, 45 hours a week. He was more of like younger kid, bring him on, kind of teach him the ropes a little bit. So like if he got 26 hours this week, he wasn't worried about that at all. So I think having someone flexible when you don't have those steady 40 plus hour weeks, I think that helps a lot.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if you just saw the video I put out today, actually. It was about that. And it was pretty much how he started was
College kids.
College kids. And it just works out nice because, you know, you get a big clean out. You need 4 or 5 people on it for 3 days. They'll work. And then if you don't have anything next week, they're not really stressing it like as it would be if you have someone who has, you know, live on their own, family, that type of deal. So
that hit home for me today when I heard that. I told my girl, I was like, yo, it's perfect. I was like, you know, I was getting a little nervous. I'm like, all right, when's the right time to go get the second truck and go get another employee and start training and all that? And then when you made that clip today and I listened, I'm like, yo, this is perfect. I'm always at the gym and I got like a little fan club and it's right in a college town. And it's like, it's all college kids there looking for part-time jobs. And when you said that, I'm like, bingo. It's like all my fans at the gym, you know, that I help out working out and all these dudes, you want a real workout and want to make some money. Yeah. Let me get your number and all. So how does it all work out? Like, you know, as far as like with workers' compensation, with part-time and all that, like, how do you like balance that out? Like, do you go right away? Do you just hire them on and, you know, hope they're going to work out? Or is there like a probationary period, like that you just try them out first before you put them on the books?
That's a question, Rich.
Yeah. So when we first started, like October 7th, 2017, we didn't get workers' comp, and then we just got like general liability, and it was just me and Nick. We were like, oh, we're the owners, we don't need it. Then the first contractor, within 2 weeks that we wanted to do interior demo work for and picking up stuff, they required it. So we went to our insurance guy and we were like, they say we need workers' comp, but it's just us. Like, what do we do? And he says, you have to get it. And it's like a minimum policy. So I think at the time it was like $1,100 for the year or something like that. And then you still have it. So we were like, okay. So we were just paying for it. And that wasn't, I mean, back then it was more significant than it is now. But so that wasn't a big deal. So we got that. And then we realized like, oh, this contractor needs this much in general liability and this much this. So we always pretty much had workers' comp. And then when it comes to the employees thing, we usually, I would say 80 to 90% of the new employees that we get are referrals from current employees that have a good work ethic, come in on time, do what they're supposed to do, and they know what we expect out of like an employee. So it's much easier. So like we'll bring them on. And I would say half and half. Like, so I've had a couple people that we brought on to like more like a casual labor thing, and then bring them their envelope of papers that they have to fill out, and then just put them on a QuickBooks and stuff, and then we can start running payroll from there. But I think it's good to have workman's comp no matter the size, because you're going to be able to get all those contractors and bigger companies that no matter what require, whether you're using it for employees or not.
I do have a great workers' comp story as well.
Nice. Let's hear it, brother.
All right, so Rich knows this one, obviously. But in terms of everyone just needs workers' comp, but in terms of actually a time where you needed to use it and it actually saved you a little bit, we had an employee on a demolition job, interior, on like a step stool, taking ceiling tiles out, and you know, like metal studs that run through on a commercial. Basically, there's holes in them for wires to run through.
Okay.
He basically lost his balance on the step stool, got his pinky in the hole of the metal, and the pinky fell on the floor.
Oh man.
Yeah. So he still works for us today, and he unfortunately does not have his left pinky.
Damn. Wow.
Now, however, with all that, luckily having workers' comp and having the right stuff for the right thing, God forbid we didn't have that, and it was something, running
Business is done. Then you're done.
you're
You
done
get
there. So that's a huge point where everything, anything that he missed and all that stuff medical was all covered and everything was covered in general, and it wasn't like a complete thing. But that's the one and only time that we've really had a major issue.
I gotta say, bro, you come across everything. And first you go with the big fine, and you learn with the license right away, and now you just learn with workers' comp. Oh man, dude, holy shit!
They're hitting us from every angle.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Always.
We got a couple comments. Sippy Holes, it says, "Woot woot, that's the sound of the police." Yep, junk police in the house, brother. Out junk out. He says, how did you learn to track your KPIs? Through being mentored or experience and curiosity? How did you learn to that? Yeah, key performance indicators.
Yeah, Nick will like this one too. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would. Out junk out. Shout out to him because I've talked to him quite a few times. He follows us on the TikTok and everything. But yes, in terms of tracking them, definitely a lot of just YouTube type of videos and like how to actually track it and what's important. But it ultimately, I wouldn't even say curiosity as much as like necessity. So there was a couple of years that went by where revenue was up and our profit margins were just razor thin, and we're wondering like, what did we do wrong? Pretty much. So that just makes you kind of get obsessed with the whole, numbers and all that end of it, because we had a year, I think we did $800 and something thousand a few years ago, and it was like sub $80,000 in profit, like nothing, 9%. Something. So we're like looking into this, like, why is that the case? It ended up being, in my opinion, because we grew a lot in 1 year's time, which was the main culprit of it. But it gets you definitely thinking. So within all that too, what we ended up finding out was we had an issue with a call answering service, answering the phone for us. And basically with the leads that were coming in, they were only booking jobs at a rate of like 30%. When we switched, we had Rich track for his first month and it was over 50%. And that literally was the change in profitability right there. So from then, we pretty much just continued. Obviously, at a certain point, you just have to be paying attention to all that stuff. There's only really a few that are super important that you need to know. I mean, it's really your customer acquisition costs, which you could get into like cost per lead and all that stuff. But if you get your customer acquisition cost, that encompasses pretty much all that stuff. Then you need your booking rate that you're booking the jobs at, your average job size, so you know how much you're making off of each one. And your cancellation rate's another big one. There's a few more that are pretty important, but overall, if you have those down, you can at least look at your business from a, more of a spreadsheet type of look back and say, okay, I know if I spend, 10,000 on ads, I'm getting 50,000 in jobs, and 10% are going to cancel, so I'm getting $40,000 off of every $10,000 that I spend. And then, of course, from there, you want to look at in the ads, is it from Google, is it from Facebook, is it from this, from that? And that's where you kind of decide to put your money in. So
where do you track all your KPIs? Do you have like a system or an app that you use right now to track all that?
Yeah, Workies is that's our CRM that we use, is Workies. That pretty much tracks just about everything to give you the info. We do some stuff manually too. Like I'll go through some of our call portals. We could see like how many calls we got from Google Ads compared to the ad spend that we spent. Get it from there. And then you got to look at your GMB, how many calls you're getting from that. You got to take your total calls and divide it by where you're getting everything from. Also, like tracking numbers and stuff with call rails. Also, like
I was just about to ask you with that, Nick. Do you what different tracking numbers do you use for like the different marketing? Like what do you separate to really track?
Yeah, so we used to be a little bit more into it. To be honest with you, right now, the last like year or two, we've been on kind of like a slow the growth, focus on profit mode for a little bit. So our only true avenue of like fresh new advertising is Google Ads. So that's like really easy because it's only one thing. We have like a different number that we use for our yard signs, so we could see that. We have like a demolition campaign that comes from a different number, so we could see that too. But overall, it's pretty much Google Ads and then Google local service ads. You could tell what everything comes from that directly because you get like a different report for that and stuff.
Facebook is messages. So.
Yeah, Facebook's messages. So we kind of have it down like that. If we were, you can get really extensive with the call tracking now if you really want to. I mean, you could have different numbers on.
Well, I wanted to bring that up. I did that because I started at the beginning, and before I even got into this, I got autopilot. I got my 5 free tracking numbers. So I set up every part. My truck number is different than on the website, but where this could be a real problem, and one of the Google guys actually was the one that pointed out, when you go and set those tracking, you're confusing Google online. And now you're going to have a problem because you have multiple phone numbers. So as long as you're keeping the call tracking to like your yard signs, if you got a special campaign or something like that, that's fine. But you also be careful with putting that online because Google recognizes that, and now it's having contradictory numbers, and that's a problem. And you get marked down on that as your ranking. So that's just something to keep in mind. So, tracking numbers are great, but you definitely got to, strategically use them. The other thing that I wanted to ask you, Nick and Rich, is when you guys were on the truck, what was the percentage that you were putting in your pocket of profits?
Like actual, like paying ourselves?
Yeah. Like, were you bringing in 50%? Were you bringing in 30%? Like what that you were keeping? That was your net.
We weren't keeping anything, but we were putting it all back into the business. But we were pretty much for a couple of years, like we didn't pay ourselves anything.
But what I'm trying to figure out is like, what's the difference from today from when you were on the truck? Like, how much of a percentage did you lose going in your pocket?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I would say that realistically, being on the truck, I mean, even just looking at it from today, if we were to go out and do a job ourselves, we're going to make that 50 or 60% gross profit, or really actually like 60 to 70%, because you're just taking labor out of the equation. And then compared if we send out employees and everything, we'll be closer to 50. So it's probably like that 20, 25% difference realistically. But I would say back then too, probably in the neighborhood of 55 to 60.
Wow,
60.
Nick, I got to hear to break down this because I'm impressed with what you're saying. So 50% as you're keeping employees, that is extremely high, because what I'm hearing from everybody else is like 30 and 35, something around there. So I like the video you made the other day on pricing and all. Can you kind of go over your formula, as far as like what you do? Because you incorporate everything in there to make sure you're getting that 50% returns. And that's what I really liked about you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. And just so I'm clear on it, it's gross profit. So this is just strictly the cost that it requires to do the job. Then after that, you still have your overhead. We put advertising on the back end as well. And then a couple other miscellaneous costs and everything like that. So in terms of gross profit, but yeah, for our pricing sheet, I mean, it's pretty much, we're just looking at each and every price point on there. So for, say, our full truckloads, $897, call it $900. We're just basically making sure that whenever we do a full truckload, that the cost of that doesn't exceed $450, because that's the 50% gross profit right there. So that would be, the 2 hours to do the job, which usually it's less than that, but we say 2 hours to fill the truck, and then a half an hour each way. So 3 hours, you have to dump as well. So call it 3.5. So then you tally together your labor, dump fees, and your fuel are like the main three. Some people throw maintenance in there and like truck payments and stuff for gross profit. But as long as those numbers are basically above 50%, that's what you're making. So like when I look at it from like a monthly basis, say just take a round number of like $100,000. You do $100,000, and then your gross profit on that after all your expenses for doing the jobs is $50,000. That's the $50,000 you have left to pay for your overhead, your advertising. For us, we put maintenance on the back end, miscellaneous, and tools and supplies, and like license and legal.
So realistically, you're keeping like 25-30% is going in your pocket end of the day, like
after
all the miscellaneous and all the insurance and all the the maintenance and all that.
The goal would be 25. 30 is very, very good.
That's what I was saying. So when you said 50 at first, I was like, whoa, okay.
There's been months where we do 80,000 and spend 76. It happens. So I mean, that's obviously worst case scenario, but you define like the threshold for us. So like there's a break even number based on all your expenses, and then you have to push above that number basically to hit where you're trying to go in terms of net profit. But overall net profit, you should be probably around 25%, and then paying yourself and going down. But it's realistically a lot of times closer to 20, 25. It depends on exactly, what you're doing and how fast you're growing is a big part of it. Because if we cut all of our ad spend off and just only did our repeat and referral business and everything like that, kept everything low and tight, we'd probably have a higher percent profit margin, maybe 27, 28, 29, but the actual dollar number would be less than doing, more revenue at 20
overall net. Yeah.
3%.
I got you.
So it all depends on the growth rate of pretty much what you're doing. So we've had some years where we just, every extra dollar we made, we're spending on advertising, just trying to get more customers, and don't really care. And then now, like I was saying, the last year or two, we've been kind of flipping that into wanting to just worry more about profit. So we lowered our ad spend for the year to closer to like 8 to 9% instead of 15.
Now, how many trucks are you guys running today?
Rich, all right, man. All right. Sorry, I know Rich,
We have
it doesn't matter, but we had 4. We sold 1 to 3 dumping box trucks that we use for junk removal, and then we do, like I mentioned before, almost half of our business is interior demolition. So that only really requires pickup trucks because a lot of it's subcontracting for remodeling companies, where we just show up with demolition tools and a pickup truck. They usually have a dumpster on site, or sometimes if there is debris to be hauled, we'll stage it in the driveway on a tarp, and then we'll add that job to the junk removal guy's route. So they'll pick up at the end of the day. So, it's only like 3 actual trucks, but we run a pickup truck or 2 just on demolition all the time. So it's just not the same type of truck that we need.
What is the overall goal for each truck in the junk removal, and how do you keep them busy, like during your winters?
Yeah, winters can be a tough one. We started slowly getting into Christmas lights. We don't know exactly if we're going to go full into it or not, but I think there's definitely opportunity there. For a regular goal for like a junk removal truck and 2 guys on it, we shoot for like between like the 1,500 to 2,000 range. Sometimes it could be a little more. Usually it's probably right around, we always say around 2 truckloads, and our truckload's 897, so it's really 1,800 is like a perfect goal for us. But I mean, you can make that up with a truckload, a half load, and 2 eighths or something like that. So that's where we like to be at. But it gets a little different when you're doing cleanouts and stuff. So it's not like completely easy to say, oh, this truck each do 1,800, or this person has a 10-hour day, but this person has a 6-hour day. But yeah, I'd say goal is right around 2 truckloads a day per crew.
No Limit Holding says, can you recommend to us and all the new ones entering this business once? Entering this business once. So I guess when you first enter, like, what's a good recommendation? Let's see. He says after he goes, the money starts coming in. What would you guys recommend? I think they said reinvest is what you guys were saying before, is whatever you guys are making, you just reinvest right back in.
Yeah, I think it depends on your situation. Like, I mean, if you have living on your own, you have a family, you have kids to provide for and stuff, you need to make an income. So you have to take some of that money back. But we were still living at home, weren't going to college, didn't have any payments on anything, no debt. So we're just kind of working and reinvesting to just keep growing and growing. And I think it was probably the right decision for us. Like Nick said, stacking some money would have been probably a good idea as well. But the position you're in will definitely determine that more than like more of a recommendation type thing, I think.
Those are NPR dump trucks you guys got?
Yes.
2 NPRs, and then one's a Chevy box truck.
Okay, now how did you go about getting your first truck? Like, how did you guys get the money? Was that money that you made in the business and you just reinvested to buy the truck? And did you finance or did you buy it outright?
Yeah, we bought that first hook lift. I think it was $14,000. It came with a 10-yard dumpster, like our first actual truck. And we got that I think we sold like one of our enclosed trailers. So that was some money. And then we also had money saved up just from like doing the work and keeping it in the bank account and stuff, and knew we were looking to get a truck like somewhat soon to get more of like the junk removal image going on. So we came across that. That was in Maryland. So we drove a couple hours, and then we paid cash for that.
Nice. And Sippy Hall says, what's the maintenance cost on those trucks? Yeah, what year was that roll-off? Obviously, it's an older model, 14,000. Like, what
Yeah, that
year?
was 99. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's like the maintenance on those? Is there, because that's where everybody was like kind of scaring me. They're like, oh, don't go and get an older truck, man. It's gonna be in the shop all the time, and then you're never gonna be able to have it for business. So I
Yeah.
went and got the new truck. What's your recommendation on that?
Yeah, I definitely would say if you're able to, going newer is better. I feel like it's more stable to have a payment than it is to have crazy maintenance payments. But we kind of have always gone with like more of a mixture. So like right now, our one truck's like a 2022, I think, the Isuzu. The other one's like a 2009. That thing we put a lot into, so that thing's still pretty good. And then the box truck we just bought cash. That's like a older, cheaper truck. So I feel like having a mixture of both. It's nice to have an extra truck laying around where you don't have a payment on. So when anything does go down, you can pick it up and use it, type of thing. But our biggest problem was we were so young, we just had no credit or anything. So we were basically, there was just no option other than to buy a truck cash. So like once we had the first opportunity to finance a truck, that's what we did. That was in 2009, like 5 years ago now. And then we got the 2022 and then the box truck more recently. So I feel like a blend personally is pretty good because I mean, if your P&L is just full of, 4 trucks, $8,000 a month in truck payments and insurance and stuff, that can be tough. But then also keeping it in the shop and everything's tough. But I will say the dumps around us are pretty rough on the trucks. So we've kind of found, regardless if the truck's new or if it's a few years older, no matter what, it's going to have problems. I mean, the radiators get caked up with dirt. You got to just constantly just be cleaning them and everything else. So I think a balance between both, which is what I kind of see. I feel like for other companies I see in the groups, I feel like people end up getting a nice blend of like, your newer finance trucks, but then throw in a couple cheaper trucks on top of that. Just
Got a quick story for the newer truck thing because I feel like everybody always says it's always better to finance the new truck because you won't have problems with it and everything. So our first like brand new truck that we financed a used one first, was the 2022 Isuzu hook lift, and that was like 90,000. And so we started working for 3 or 4 months, and then the motor went on it. Not because of something we did. It was simply just a bad motor. So you could still go finance a $90,000 truck, and it could just have a blown motor, and then you got to drop it off, and they're going to pay for it to get fixed, but you're going to lose.
We lost almost 6 months with that truck because it was during COVID and Isuzu didn't have any motors. So we were paying $1,500 a month on a truck that we couldn't use for 6 months. About it. So that
put a bad taste in our mouths for the new truck thing too.
Yeah,
and I want to tell people that too. If you guys are just starting off, like you're in my position and all, and if you don't got the money to buy the truck outright, I wouldn't recommend it because I could see how it could get nerve-wracking if your phone's not ringing and you're just paying each month a couple thousand to have that new truck and all. It's not worth it. I was in a different situation. I'm a multiple business owner. I got a lot of extra money laying around, so I just bought it. I didn't want to deal with that. I actually bought it 6 months before I even used it and all. So that was the way I did. But now looking at it and thinking of a new up and coming person, like don't put yourself in that position. You're going to stress out. Like it's not a good situation. I think finding an older truck that is like, reasonably priced is a good start just to get you out and moving. And then as you start making money and all, and you got like consistent business, then go for the finance. That's the way I would go about that for sure.
I would agree with that.
Joe A says, what's your go-to outlet for advertising and who manages it?
Yeah. So I'd say for the first however many years, it was mostly Google ads, like heavily. And then we also got into, we've been doing SEO for a while as well. Facebook more recently, last, I would say 2 years or so, we got more into. And JRA manages our SEO and our Google ads. We manage our Facebook. What else you got, Nicholas? LSA we manage. You don't really have to.
Yeah, LSA self-manage. That's pretty much it. Like I said, we've narrowed it down over the years. I mean, when anyone starts out and when we started out, you're on anything you could be on. So like Thumbtack, Yelp, Google Ads, Google LSA, anything that you could possibly be on. We've kind of just narrowed it down and we're like, we look at things and we're like, all right, well, we're making, 6 times our money off of this outlet and we're making 2 or 3 off of this. So we're just going to take the money from this and put it into that. So that for us is pretty much Google ads. That's just been the best return that we've had. And then we have kind of bumped up in general our SEO and got our whole website redone and everything by JRA, which was very good. That's been working out nice. I'm getting a lot more online bookings from that, better conversions. So
let me ask you. So what is your, if you don't mind me asking, you don't have to tell me exact numbers, but what is your budget each month on advertising?
It used to be like last year and the year before we spent like 145,000. It was like I think 150 in 2023 and 140 something in last year.
So you guys aren't playing. You're all in. You guys are big time with the ads, and you're dropping a pretty penny each month on them.
Yeah, but then this year we've actually made a pretty significant cut.
That's what you were saying. You're kind of focusing more on getting more profit and more return on that. When you're doing these ads, what is your goal on ROI? Like, are you looking for 2x, 3x, 4x, and like what are you seeing for the most part?
Yeah, right now I just looked at it earlier today. Actually, it's blended all together this year so far, like January to March 24th or whatever, is 4.4 times on all ad spend to revenue. That should go up a little bit in the busier season though, but pretty much the threshold. I mean, anything under 3, you're not really making any money is what it comes down to. Because the way I look at it is if you do 4x, you spend 100, you get 400 back, but you're sending your guys and your team and everything out there. 50% cost goes into doing that $400 job. Now you're at 200, so that leaves you 100 left to either spend on ads or you have to pay all the rest of your bills and everything. So it's like, ideally the higher you can push that number. It's one of the most important numbers I'm realizing that there really is, if you can find yourself an avenue or an outlet to be able to give yourself a 5, 6, 7x return, there's really no reason to not dump as much money as you possibly can into it. If you're advertising all year and you're only getting 3, then that's a whole different story. So like we had a problem last year where we had a couple things go wrong with our ads and everything, and I ended up only working out to slightly above like 2 times. So that was like that's why this year we scaled back pretty big time and brought it in. But then like the other benefit and the way I look at things is you're either building the business to make you money. So that to me is like you're lowering your ad cost. You're trying to increase profitability. Or if you want to go heavier on ads, then you're kind of building the value of the company is the way I look at it. So like similar to like a rental property, if it appreciates, but then you're also getting the cash flow. It's like how much do you care about having a cheaper property that gives you more cash flow for your money? Or do you want to have the $1 million mansion that maybe you're only able to break even and pay the mortgage on, but the mansion's going to appreciate, from $1 million to 1.2 million the next year. So that's how we've always kind of looked at it, is like we want to get to the point where we can get a nice business appraisal and have a nice fat number on the end of that. So it's kind of depends on what you want to do.
Another thing with that is with the repeat referral business, like
Rich, you just froze up on us.
Yeah, you did.
When we were out, we're still gaining customers.
Rich, you're chopping in and out right now. Yeah, your feed is a little messed up. Can you guys hear me good right now?
Yeah, I hear you. I think you might be back. You back?
Rich, you there?
I'm back.
Yeah, it's like a real delay right now on his
lag.
Let me read this real quick. No Limit says, thank you guys for being so honest and keeping it real. I love the content. Thanks for the live, Paul. Mr. Yee Yee in the house. What's up, Mr. Yee Yee? Hell yeah. We got a couple people. We got Andrew Thompson in the house. What is up, Andrew? We got Jamie in the house. How are you doing, Jamie? We got Beans in the house. America Junk Boys. How are you today? I'm just trying to catch up in the chat. Sorry, guys, I haven't been following. Hey, girl, just wanted to swing by in between watching The Bachelor. Friend. Okay. All right. So, yeah, Rich, are you there now?
I don't know. Am I good?
Yeah, you're good now. You're good, bro.
So yeah, with when we had like 2x revenue or 2x ad spend to 2.5x ad spend, you're not, like Nick said, making that money initially, like month to month, but we did that for a couple years and it was higher and lower. But if you do a good job for those customers, you're going to get the repeat referral business. So if we weren't spending all that money advertising the years prior, now we have, depending on the month, $40,000, $50,000 in repeat or referral recurring revenue, which is a nice thing to build up, and that just keeps paying for itself down the line. So maybe not an initial multiple, but later down the line, if you do a good job, you'll have that in your back pocket for a while.
That's what. Yeah.
Joe A wants to know. He goes, "Where is the bulk of your business? New Jersey or Philly?"
Definitely New Jersey. It's like 90, probably over 90% New Jersey.
What is your service area? You guys are over by the shore, right? You're like in Brick area and all over there.
No, we're more south. We're 10 minutes from Philly.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so we dabble in Philly. We do the only main things we do in Philly is like commercial demolition. So we have like one specific client that owns a big commercial construction company. So we'll gut some like commercial buildings. Like one we just did was like, like Carlos's Bakery, like Cake Boss.
Oh, I know him, bro. Yeah, he's
bro.
Yeah. He made my girl was I made her a pro bodybuilder. I was her coach and all, and he did a cake of her, like a full it was when they did the bodybuilding one. And he came to our gym in New York, and we all met him and everything. We were taping a reality show for Fitness Miles that I was on then.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's cool, man. I met him on a boat too, one of the cruises, and I think it was like in Bermuda. I ran into him as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I've never like met him personally, but this was, I guess, one of the locations in Philly. I don't know if they're doing a different spot or something, but we just gutted the whole interior of that, like all the tile floors, ceilings, like all the different cabinetry and all that stuff. So they're turning it into a veterinarian place or whatever. So that's the stuff we do in Philly most of the time. Is like more of those commercial type of things. I mean, we'll run a truck there here and there for like small pickups, but we try to, advertising wise, it's 100% New Jersey. We just get some random PA stuff just because geographically we're like right there.
Very cool. Now I got to ask you guys, man, are you making the trip across the country in October? We got the big Junk Expo being thrown by Sonoma Strong, and they got all top speakers coming from all over the place. And, it's right in my area, so I'll definitely be over there and also going to be one of the sponsors. But are you guys going to make the trip for this one?
We were just talking about it. We're going to see if we can.
You guys got him, man. We'll show you around, bro. I got to have my East Coast buddies over there, bro. Got to show you around.
Yeah, it's quite the trip. But we went to the JRA one in North Carolina in 2019 or 2020 or something. But yeah, I'd like to get out for another one. We'll see if.
Bro, it's real easy. Go right over to Newark, jump right on the SFO. It's 30 minutes up the road, bro. You can't tell me. I used to do bro, I still live in New York, so I do the trip like every month and a half. So you can't tell me that, man. Now, I want to see you guys over there, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Everybody's going to be coming. Yeah, it's going to be really. And I mean, there's something to learn from everybody. There's so many great people come in, and just watching you guys, I see your strengths of what you do good, and then like we got other guys like Andrew Thompson that everything is with all new like tech savvy moves, and with autopilot and all. So there's so many different ways to find success in this industry, and I just find it amazing that each one of you guys find a different way at it, and I just like sitting back and kind of analyzing and learning from you guys. So I appreciate it, man. I definitely took a lot from this interview. I know everybody in the chat is definitely enjoying this for sure. Is there any other like tips or tricks that you would give to us newbies out there? Like I'm just in my first year. Like I said, this is coming on month 3 and all. I came in right away with the NPR and kind of just going balls to the wall, whatever I had to go money wise and everything. But like, what would you recommend for me? Like anything that I could do to kind of speed up my progress?
One thing I would say would be definitely, I'm not sure if you have or not, starting with a CRM is probably a good thing. It sounds like out of reach for a lot of people when they first start out, because maybe it doesn't make sense to them. Why do I need this? I don't need. But when you showcase to a customer like my ETA, and then you send them a receipt right away, you can take a payment right away, and then you're building your customer base from day one. Like we've missed a couple years when we were first starting of contacts of customers to send email or text message campaigns to for a while. So I think starting over, I would definitely wish I started with a CRM right off the bat. I think that was pretty important.
Shout out to Andrew Thompson. He got me hooked up with day one. I came an investor with Autopilot. So I've been using Autopilot before I even started my business. So I started from day one with that whole plan, and I'm loving it. And like you said, man, it definitely makes a statement to the customer. You know, when you give, like, I'll be there in a half an hour. As soon as you leave, they get a link to your review. They get, you know, like a follow-up, making sure everything's okay. And I'm actually doing my first SMS texting campaign in the first month of month 3 for me, and I'm going to just send it out to all my clients that I just had and just see if I get some new business from that. So yeah, that is definitely a game changer for sure, and that's something I would never have got into, you know, but getting into this industry and meeting Andrew Thompson, like I said, man, like, you know, I learned from this guy. You know, I'm learning all this tech savvy stuff. I'm learning how to do SEO on myself and learning what to put in my websites and Google my business. You would have asked me this stuff a year ago, I wouldn't have had a clue. You know what I mean? And I own multiple businesses, but I never had a need to use any of this stuff. But, you know, just from learning from all you guys and getting these tips and all, it's definitely paying dividend for sure. Where can guys get in touch with you guys, man, if they want to reach out to you? And, you know, what other platforms do you guys, I think you said earlier, TikTok. I didn't know you guys were on there. I got to check you guys out over there as well.
Yeah, that's our main one. That's just where we started. So if you go over to TikTok and scroll to the bottom, you can see us from probably before getting our license or right around there, like 5 years back. So you literally can see from hiring our first employee until now, like a couple weeks at a time, all the way over for 5 years, just random videos, some tips, some of it's just like day in the life type of stuff. So TikTok's probably the main platform. Obviously, happy to be friends with anyone on Facebook as well. Been trying to just put out more content there because I know that a lot of people are, you know, on Facebook and everything. But yeah, those two outlets are probably the best bet.
Now, with TikTok, what are you doing on there? Are you looking for business, or is it more just building the brand name over there?
No, honestly, our whole entire TikTok has been dedicated to helping other junk removal companies basically scale. Okay. Like a lot of the videos you see I post on Facebook and stuff, a lot of the ones recently have been new that I've just been making, but a lot of it's just like drafts and stuff that I've had on TikTok or stuff from our TikTok that we put on. So that's what the whole thing's geared towards. Is if anyone's looking, there's tons of like just general tips and stuff on there. I have a lot more than what I put on Facebook.
Wow, I'm glad you just said that, bro. I got to get over to TikTok. You know, I haven't made one for Fuhgeddaboutit over there. I got my regular one, but you know, I've definitely been slacking on that. And I know all the younger guys like yourself, you know, everybody's on TikTok, where I'm like the old school and I'm still stuck on Facebook ways and all that. But I got to say, Facebook works very well in the junk industry. It definitely keeps you connected in the circle for sure.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I wanted to thank you guys for coming on tonight. This was a great interview, man. I learned so much from you guys. For the next week or so, I'll be making short clips and shorts, and be sure to tag you in them and putting them out there. And I just want to invite you guys and everybody in the chat. Tomorrow, we got the Junk Family. It's going to be returning, episode 3. That'll be going down at 8 p.m. Eastern time. What we do with that is we just put the link in the chat. Anybody that wants to join, come join. It's not a serious show. It's more of just a laid back networking. You know, we just shoot the shit, so to say. If you want to talk junk, we could talk junk. If you want to talk other topics, whatever is trending in the world, we could bring that up. But I encourage you guys to come pop in tomorrow night, even if you don't want to come on. If you want to just say hello, quick hello in the chat, definitely check it out. We got a lot of big names coming through. Matt Vick, Jojo Vick, Sonoma Strong will be in the house, Andrew Thompson, Kevin Hess. We got America Junk Boss with Bean Burgos will be in the house. So we got a lot of people going to be popping in, and it'll be a great experience. So definitely check that out tomorrow night, 8 p.m. And then one more thing before we call it a night, guys. If you haven't already, make sure to get over to Amazon. Get your Leading with Purpose. This is from Kevin Hess. He's doing it big, man. This guy is Mr. Customer Service. We're going to do a segment tomorrow on the Junk Family where we're going to feature Kevin, and he's going to answer any questions as far as customer service, because we know he is our customer service guru. And then we also got Junk Secret from Xavier. Get over to Amazon, get his series. You got 2 of the books out right now, a 3rd one on the way. Definitely support our other fellow junk removal guys. And guys, if you haven't already, please click that thumbs up button and get over to these guys' Facebooks and TikToks, and make sure to follow them. And thanks again for coming on. And everybody, have a good night.
Thank you for having us.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you for coming on, guys. Have a great night, bro.
You
Yep.
too.